Okay. Um, Hello, everybody in ETAP 683 and Professor Shea. This is my technology project for Module 5 in our class, and my project is actually something I've been working on for BOCES for the last couple of months, and will probably hope to finish the whole project by February or March of this year. Um, BOCES contacted me back in the beginning of August and it asked me to write a online version of advanced placement macroeconomics that would live on a central registry in New York State that public school districts from across the state could log into and use as a template or even really as an entirely inclusive course. And the idea was that there are a number of schools, particularly rural schools, that don't have enough student population to offer certain advanced placement courses, including advanced placement macroeconomics. The idea was that perhaps students, two or three students from a rural school might join two or three other students from another school, and so on, to create a reasonably sized course that was both cost effective and would also have enough quality. And the idea behind having the central registry of the course is that the thought was that there aren't a tremendous number of high school educators that are skilled and trained to create online courses effectively. So they've hired those of us who are trained, in my case through Albany, some of my colleagues through other programs, to write online courses. And they've asked us to create the lessons, create the course, and then they will be hiring moderators over the coming semesters to essentially moderate the course, but not have to worry about the individual pedagogy and creation of lessons. And hopefully that's what I'm accomplishing. I'm a good bit of the way through it, and I want to just give you a quick tour, if I can, for my technology project. First, you'll notice that I'm using a course management software known as Moodle. Some of you may be familiar with Moodle. We happen to be using Blackboard in the 683 course. Moodle is very similar in some ways. In its purpose, it's very similar. In its actual function, it's quite different. The big advantage, of course, to Moodle is that it is totally free. It's actually open source software that anyone can download, and actually, really, all you need is a server for it to live on. This is, I believe, Moodle version 2.0. It may be a higher one, I'm not sure, but Moodle's had a few versions. The big advantage, as I said, is it's free. The big disadvantage to it, quite frankly, is that it is pretty clunky, and it's not always the most intuitive. It takes you many steps to do basic things sometimes. But if you're willing to have patience with it, it is a pretty powerful tool, and quite frankly, given that it's essentially free, it's a very attractive thing. So just quickly to give you a tour of what I've done with this course, basically the students would start off as they would the first day of any course by, they would get the direction here at the very beginning that just says please begin by clicking the welcome. The welcome is over here, and each of these links here is essentially part of what normally we would call the syllabus of the course. So things like grading policies, a little welcome from me, the textbook we'll be using, the schedule of the course, things of that nature. So that is essentially the digital version of the first day of class. It also gives them some very specific directions about how to engage the online course in an appropriate way. Since they may not have experience, particularly at the K-12 level, they may not have experience with an online course before. So things like netiquette, for example, and what's appropriate and what's not, and how it's appropriate to engage students and how often, and the expectations, all that sort of thing, are laid out. It then goes to what I call my next steps, and that essentially directs them to this first module. Now, as just like our course, this course is broken up into modules. There are actually a total of 11 of them altogether, 10 and a review module. And let me just give you a quick introduction to what a typical module looks like for this course. The first module here is called Introduction to Economics. What I generally do is I break each module down into 4 to 5 lessons. So you can see this one happens to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lessons. And each lesson has a number of learning activities that go with it. The students essentially throughout the course of the module use what I call the module guide as sort of a map, sort of a recipe for what they need to accomplish. So I'll just click on my first one. This is the guide to Module 1. I click on it here, and it'll show you what essentially what they get out of it. The key idea here is that each lesson has some activities, some things that I'd like them to do, some learning activities, and it describes for them in detail what I'd like those activities to be. It may be, for example, taking some notes on a recorded lecture. It may be reading a textbook section. It may be completing certain worksheets, participating in a group discussion. It may be textbook assigned problems. All those things are possibilities. Lots of different things. Lots of things that we might do a similar version of in a face-to-face class, but hopefully have been adapted appropriately to the online world. Then, just as sort of a guide to them, I also always provide them with key questions, things that are things they really should be able to answer by the end of the module, and also key terms they'll need to know throughout the course of the module, so they can kind of highlight those as they go through their lessons. And you can see each lesson is a little different. This is lesson 2, its key questions, its specific vocabulary, lesson 3, and so on. And typically, I actually ask the students to print this off so they can have it there as a again as really a map and as a recipe for how to be successful in the course. So once they have that, they can continue along with their lessons. And so, for example, the first lesson says they should watch a mini lesson. The mini lesson comes up here. I have both a non-narrated version and then also a narrated version of the lesson. Now, if you bear with me for a moment, I'm going to actually click on this lesson and show you what it looks like. Now, you'll hear some sound in the background, which is my voice speaking in the lesson. I just want you to watch for a second, so I'll stop for a moment speaking and let that video play for a moment. Okay, you'll see it pop up here, and when I click play, you'll see the lesson begin. I'm going to put it on full screen so it's easy for everyone to see, and I'll click play and I'll be quiet for just a minute. So that video that you just saw was created using a program right here called Screen Recorder. It's actually called Screencast-O-Matic. It sounds like a silly name, but it's actually, of all the online free software programs that I found, I think it's the easiest to use to create screencasts. You could use other programs. There's a program that used to be called Jing. I think it's now called Camcastia Studio. There's a number of them, but I find this one to be just very simple. I did actually pay a small fee because I wanted to have videos that were longer than 15 minutes, but if you don't need that, you can use their free version as long as you're willing to store the videos yourself, and they're really quite good. I then uploaded the videos to YouTube and allowed them to live here rather than trying to uh, have all these huge files sitting on a server that BOCES was handling. YouTube set up for it. So YouTube, you put the videos on YouTube, and then you just use this embed feature right here. This is the embed feature. You click share and then embed. You can copy this HTML code over into your Moodle course. And the way you do that is by simply creating a page. You would add a page to your program, and then you would very simply title it. I think this was lesson 11 we were looking at, and then in the page content area, click HTML rather than just typing. If I was just typing, this is what would appear. This gobbledygook would appear on my page. But what I can do is, instead of just typing words in, I click this HTML button, and I actually get the background code. I then paste the embedding code that I got from the YouTube site. Very simply, I hit update, and now all of a sudden that video I put in YouTube, it lives still on YouTube, but it appears to live on the Moodle course, and the students will never know the difference. And all the maintenance of actually holding on to the thing is on YouTube, but the video lives here, which is nice. It also gives me more flexibility to use the video for other purposes if I so chose to do that. So then I would click save and return to course, and the video should be. Let's take a look if it's there. The video should be. Yep, there it is right there. I click on the lesson. This is what the student would see, and there's that video just like the one that we watched a few minutes ago. All right, so it's actually a very, very cool feature that's easy to use and very powerful when you want to create really anything that you'd like to narrate, as well as be able to have students visually see what's happening on your screen. And there are other activities they'll complete. They'll complete activities like, for example, I have this little thing here called Who Would You Throw Out? It's a little interactive activity. They would be able to turn in assignments through a little program they call Turn It In. This happens to be a textbook assignment. They also have an area for questions, just like Professor Shea provides for us in our course, and each lesson has an area that you might be able to ask either myself or a fellow student a question about a problem that they could assist you with, and try to help. And again, that helps to build some of the learning community within the course. All right, so this is sort of my little project. I hope it's been a nice tour of what the course looks like. I hope to have it done in the next few months, and I think it's going to be really pretty worthwhile and pretty useful. It has been a lot of work, a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. And if anyone ends up being interested in Moodle or in Screencast-O-Matic or how to link YouTube videos, please certainly feel free to ask. I'd be happy to help you with that. But it's been a good experience so far, and hopefully it'll continue to be. So thanks very much, ETAP 683.